If you've been scrolling through endless pages of pool equipment, comparing a handful of salt chlorinators, and still feel like you might end up buying the wrong thing, stick around. This review is going to clear the fog. You're probably weighing the promise of no more chlorine bottles against the fear of a pricey system that never really kicks in. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I've spent the last few weeks talking to pool owners, digging through forums, and looking at the specs that actually matter when you're trying to keep a 55,000 gallon backyard oasis sparkling without turning your maintenance routine into a full-time job. First off, let's talk about why a salt chlorine generator even exists. Traditional chlorine dosing means you're constantly buying chemicals, juggling shock treatments, and hoping you've kept the right balance. The idea behind a system like the CircuPool SJ55 is simple: dissolve salt into the water, run it through an electrolysis cell, and let the unit create chlorine on demand. In theory, that sounds like a set-and-forget solution, but the devil is in the details. How easy is the setup? How reliable is the cell over time, and does it really save you money in the long run? The SJ55 is a second-generation model that advertises simple, reliable, proven operation for pools up to 55,000 gallons. That's a pretty wide range, covering everything from modest residential pools to medium-sized community installations. If you have a pool that sits somewhere in the middle, say 30,000 gallons, the unit should be comfortably within its sweet spot. The system comes as a single, self-contained box with a built-in control panel, a flow sensor, and the electrolytic cell. You hook it into your existing pump line, set the desired chlorine output, and the unit handles the rest. No extra plumbing tricks, no separate timer modules, just a straightforward connection that most pool techs can do in under an hour. Now, who actually benefits from this setup? If you're the type of homeowner who hates the chore of hauling chlorine buckets from the hardware store every week, or if you run a small family-run pool service that wants to reduce recurring supply costs, the SJ55 hits the mark. It's also a solid choice for those who have already installed a saltwater system and are looking to upgrade to a more modern controller. The updated second-generation label means CircuPool has tweaked the cell design to improve salt utilization, which translates into a steadier chlorine level, something you'll notice in the reduced amount of algae and cloudiness after a hot summer weekend. On the flip side, if your pool is under 10,000 gallons, you might be overpaying for a system that's built for much larger volumes. In that scenario, a smaller, less expensive generator could do the job just as well. Likewise, if you already have a robust, well-maintained chlorine feeding system and you're comfortable with the routine of buying and adding chemicals, the SJ55's value proposition diminishes. The upfront cost is not trivial. Most users see it as an investment, and the return comes from the reduction in chemical purchases and the convenience factor. For a pool that's already on a tight budget, that initial outlay could be a stumbling block. Let's get into the real-world strengths. The biggest win is the hands-off experience after the initial installation. Once the salt level is set, around 3000 ppm for most residential pools, the control panel lets you choose a chlorine output range, typically 0.5 to 5 ppm. You can dial it up during heavy use periods, like a weekend barbecue, and let it drop back down when the pool is idle. The unit's flow sensor is a quiet hero. If the pump stops, the generator automatically shuts off, preventing the cell from running dry, a common cause of premature wear in cheaper models. Over several months of testing, owners have reported that the water feels softer than with traditional chlorine, which is a subtle but pleasant side effect of the salt balance. Another practical advantage is the low-maintenance routine. The cell does need periodic cleaning, usually a simple rinse with fresh water every few months to remove calcium buildup, but you won't be swapping out chlorine tablets every week. The control panel also flashes a maintenance reminder when the cell's life expectancy drops to about 80%, giving you a clear heads-up before performance starts to dip. This predictive alert system is a nice touch, especially for pool owners who aren't mechanically inclined. Now for the hidden trade-offs. The SJ55's reliance on your pool's pump flow rate means you need a pump that can consistently push the recommended gallons per minute, around 30-40 GPM. If your existing pump is underpowered, the generator will throw a low flow warning and won't produce the chlorine you expect. Upgrading the pump adds another cost layer that many first-time buyers overlook. Also, the salt itself isn't free. While you're buying far fewer chlorine chemicals, you'll still need to keep the salt tank topped up, especially after heavy rain or splash out. In hot climates, the salt consumption can climb noticeably, and the water chemistry balance can shift, requiring